Hi everyone, my name is Yousra Javed and I'm an assistant professor at Illinois State University. Today I'm going to present my findings on user perceptions of Gmail's confidential mode. This work was done in collaboration with researchers at UNC Charlotte. We're all familiar with ephemeral communication that is possible through social media applications such as Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger via self-destructing chat messages and media that expire after being viewed or as stories that expire after 24 hours. This achieves the notion of privacy. A similar feature was introduced by Gmail in 2018 for ephemeral communication and access control in email. This feature is known as confidential mode, and its icon is represented by a lock with a timer symbol within the message composition window. Users can turn on the confidential mode by clicking on this icon, which leads to this window. The confidential mode does not perform end-to-end encryption on the email. However, it allows Gmail users to set an expiration date by specifying the amount of time the email will be accessible to the recipient. The default option is 1 week. It also allows the sender to require an SMS passcode, which is a one-time passcode to verify the recipients before they can access the email content. This mode also prevents recipients from forwarding, copying, printing, or downloading email contents or attachments. Here is a snapshot of a user composing an email with Gmail's confidential mode. We can see that there are 2 photos attached with this email and that the content expires on June 24th, 2022. Here is the sender's view after sending the email. The sender can revoke access to the email before its scheduled expiration date by clicking here. Here is a snapshot of the recipient's view of the confidential email. Gmail removes the email's body and any attachments from the recipient's copy of the email. These are replaced with a link to the email's content and attachments. Email clients then make the linked content appear as if it is part of the email. Upon clicking on the link, we can see the email content and that there are 2 photo attachments. However, these cannot be downloaded. To view them, the user will click on them and they will open in the browser like this. The same applies for Word documents as well as PDF files, etc. If the sender has also required the use of an SMS passcode to verify the recipient's identity before they view the email content, then this window will appear upon clicking on the confidential email. In case the sender deletes or revokes access to the email before the set expiration date, then the recipient would see this window upon clicking on the confidential email. This will say that the email has expired. Now, a wide amount of literature exists on studying the usability and effectiveness of end-to-end email encryption tools. However, to the best of our knowledge, user perceptions and motivations for sending private emails using confidentiality tools such as Gmail's confidential mode have not been explored. This paper therefore explores 3 research questions. Number 1, what motivates users to use the confidential mode? Number 2, what are users' perceptions of the confidential mode? And number 3, do users understand the features of this mode? These include expiration time, passcode requirement, permission restriction, and pre-expiry access revocation. In order to understand the user's perceptions and motivations of Gmail's confidential mode, we conducted structured interviews with Gmail users who were aged 18 and above and had used Gmail's confidential mode in the past. We confirmed participants' eligibility before interviewing them. Our participants were recruited from UNC Charlotte through an email announcement. The interviews were conducted in person as well as over Zoom due to the ongoing COVID situation. Participants' audio responses were recorded in both settings, in person as well as over Zoom. However, no personal or confidential information of participants or third persons was captured in audio or during screen sharing. The audio data was transcribed and coded by 2 researchers independently. The 2 sets of coded data were then compared and discussed to produce final codes after resolving any disagreements. The coded data was analyzed qualitatively using an inductive approach. The interview was divided into 3 parts. In phase 1 of the interview, the participants were asked a set of demographic questions and questions regarding their motivations for using confidential mode. In other words, whether they used it for specific people or for a particular content type and why they used it. Next, the participants performed a set of tasks including composing a confidential mode email and thinking aloud as they performed the task. We were interested in knowing what confidential mode meant to the participants, whether they confused it with encryption, and whether they understood the mode's features for achieving confidentiality. In the last phase, the participants were asked to review their past confidential mode emails and answer a set of questions related to these emails. We investigated whether the participants understood the features of this mode for achieving confidentiality. These include setting an expiration date on the content, requiring an SMS passcode, revoking message access before expiration date, and preventing the recipients from forwarding, downloading, or printing the content and attachments of the emails. Each interview session lasted for an average of 25 minutes, and the participants were rewarded with a $5 gift card. The study was approved by the university's Institutional Review Board. We recruited a total of 19 participants from UNC Charlotte. The majority of our participants were females, aged 18 to 39 years. Regarding the highest level of education achieved, majority of the participants had at least completed high school or bachelor's degree. Our participants were mostly students, but a few of them had full-time employment. Our sample therefore possessed a high technical skill, as a majority of them were from STEM major. When asked about the motivations for using confidential mode in their emails, a majority of the participants, 12 out of 19, mentioned that they use it to share confidential documents. Other reasons for which participants used GCM email was to prevent unauthorized access, for encryption, due to curiosity, as a replacement of the physical environment when sharing documents, sharing information via email securely during pandemic, and as a requirement when sharing work documents. We also asked the participants about the type of recipients for which they use GCM email. We found that a majority of the participants, 11 out of 19, send a GCM email to their family members and close relatives. Other type of recipients include administrative team members, financial employees for sending confidential financial documents, team members in a project at school or office, medical personnel for sending medical documents, and leasing office staff for sending lease documents. In regards to the content present in our participants' confidential mode emails, we found several types, including both private non-work documents and work-related documents, as well as other sensitive documents such as financial, tax, legal, and medical documents. When the participants composed a confidential email, they articulated their thoughts on how confidentiality is achieved in this mode and whether the composed email was encrypted or not. A majority of the participants mentioned that confidentiality is achieved through the expiration date feature or by preventing the recipient from being able to forward, copy, download, or print the contents of the email. Some participants also mentioned authentication via the passcode requirement, as well as by including confidential links or by enabling a high level of encryption. A majority of the participants, 11 out of 19, believed that the confidential mode also performs encryption on the email content via its security features. However, 8 of our participants were either unsure or correctly mentioned that it does not perform encryption on the email content. We also asked the participants to evaluate their last few emails that they sent in confidential mode and answer a set of questions related to their use of confidential mode features. We wanted to know how and why they used these features and what confidence they had in how to use these features on a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 indicates high confidence. First, we looked at the expiration time feature. A majority of our participants used the default expiration time of 1 week and used this feature to send attachments such as sensitive documents. The reasons for using this feature was to prevent unauthorized access, for instance, if the user's email account is accidentally left logged in at multiple devices or locations, and to give temporal access to the content. The participants did not choose a shorter expiration time because of the concern that emails might delete themselves before they were read by the recipients. Our participants' average confidence rating in using this feature was 4.1 out of 5. Overall, our participants had a high understanding of the confidential mode's expiration time feature. Next, we looked at the passcode requirement feature. 8 of our participants used the passcode requirement feature to prevent unauthorized access, to use two-factor authentication, and to ensure email privacy and safety. The remaining participants did not use the SMS passcode feature in their email because they were using another security tool for authentication, or they believed that this feature was inconvenient or unnecessary, or they trusted the recipient. Our participants' average confidence rating in using this feature was 4.2 out of 5. Our participants had a high understanding of the SMS passcode feature. Most of them understood how this feature works, but half of them did not use it for usability reasons. Next, we looked at the pre-expiry access revocation feature. Only 1 out of the 19 participants used this feature when they thought that the recipient might not read their email. The remaining participants did not use this feature because they trusted the recipients or they deemed it unnecessary, as setting the expiration time on email was enough. Other reasons included the fact that email content was not super sensitive, or the participants were unaware that this feature existed, or they did not know how to use it. Therefore, our participants had a relatively low understanding of pre-expiry access revocation feature. The last feature is permission restriction. So the Gmail's confidential mode prevents the recipient from forwarding, copying, printing, or downloading email content and attachments. We asked our participants about their experiences with preventing recipients from forwarding, downloading, printing their GCM emails. So 14 out of the 19 participants stated that GCM prevents recipients from downloading, forwarding, copying, or printing email attachments by default. Some participants also stated alternative methods for copying email contents while using this mode. These include screenshots taken from the computer or smartphone screen, third-party programs to bypass security, and other screen recording tools. Our participants' average confidence rating in using this feature was 3.7 out of 5. So our participants had a moderate understanding of the permission restriction feature. A few of them did not know how the permission restriction feature works, but majority used it since it is provided by default. To conclude, in this paper, we performed a qualitative study on 19 Gmail users to understand their perceptions of Gmail confidential mode, which was introduced in 2018. We found that users used this mode to share their confidential private documents. Users perceived this mode to be encrypted and confidential. The most used feature of this mode was the default expiration time of 1 week, and the least used feature was the pre-expiry access revocation. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.